Featuring Ego's patented 56-volt arc lithium battery technology, it runs for over 90.
Quickly. It is, and the election will be decided in the suburbs on the eastern side of Cleveland. Mark my words.
Thank you, Geraldo.
You're welcome.
Nice to see you. Here's the president of the Rose Garden.
Ever seen before. Last week we crossed a historic milestone when the United States conducted our 100 millionth test, far more than any other country, and not even close, actually. Second seems to be India, with 1.5 billion people, and the numbers would be probably at least 50 million more tests by us. We've conducted more tests than the entire European Union and more than all of Latin America combined. We're thrilled to be joined by Vice President Mike Pence, Secretary of Health and Human Services Alex Azar, Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos, hi Betsy, Administrator for the Centers for Medicine and Medicaid Services Seema Verma, and Admiral Jawar, who's done such an incredible job. Thank you, Admiral. We're also joined by Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves, had a tremendous victory. We're so proud of you. And as well by Abbott CEO Robert Ford. Robert, thank you very much. Great job. Today I'm pleased to report that we're announcing our plan to distribute 150 million Abbott rapid point-of-care tests in the coming weeks, very, very soon. This will be more than double the number of tests already performed. And here's our plan. 50 million tests will go to protect the most vulnerable communities, which we've always promised to do, including 18 million for nursing homes, 15 million for assisted living facilities, 10 million for home health and hospice care agencies, and nearly 1 million for historically black colleges and universities, and also tribal nation colleges. 100 million rapid point-of-care tests will be given to states and territories to support efforts to reopen their economies and schools immediately and fast as they can. For example, the support my administration is providing would allow every state to, on a very regular basis, test every teacher who needs it. This continues our critical effort to use testing to protect high-risk communities. These new Abbott rapid point-of-care tests are easy to use and return results within just minutes. You'll have a result at a maximum 15 minutes. No machine is required to process them. So in the old days when we just started this, you remember we'd go out and we'd have to find these massive laboratories with tremendously expensive equipment. Now we're down to something that you'll see that is really from a different planet.
Israelis?
I would like to ask Admiral Jawar to come up and demonstrate how these tests are performed. He'll do this very nicely, I think. Good luck. Hope you don't test.
Oh, he's going to do it very nicely. Fantastic. Frankly, guys, I believe him.
Anybody that wants a test can get a test. That's what I would just say that we.
Why wouldn't you?
Positive.
Everybody else gets their own podium.
So thank you, Mr. President. As of today, the nation has performed over
Shouldn't Trump go over there and adjust the microphone for him?
111 million tests for the virus causing COVID. On 13 separate days, we have achieved tests over 1 million per day, and our average test numbers are now approximately 920,000
Should
per
be
day.
at 9 million.
We are now at an inflection point in testing. We now have available on average 3 million tests per day, not counting pooled testing, which could multiply that number several-fold. Nearly half of our current tests are
We were supposed to have pool testing in July.
rapid point of care. All of the actions of your administration, including aggressive use of multiple titles of the DPA, hundreds of millions of dollars in HHS and DoD investments, and regulatory flexibility, including over 200 FDA emergency use authorizations, CLIA enforcement discretion, and application of the PrEP Act, have led us to this inflection point, which brings us why we're here today. On August 27th, after months of planning and only after 1 day after the FDA authorization, the Trump administration awarded a contract for $760 million to Abbott for the delivery of 150 million of these Abbott BinaxNOW rapid tests. The BinaxNOW detects the presence of the COVID antigen. It uses a specific nasal swab, and that swab comes with the test.
What about the saliva tests?
And it's made by Puritan. And the reason why Puritan swabs are here is because the administration used the DPA and $120 million in investment to make these swabs able to use by Abbott. It does not require an instrument to determine the result. It's in 15 minutes, the result. Testing may be performed by laboratories with a clear certificate of waiver. This is not a home test. But during the health emergency, CIMA-VRMA and CMS permits laboratories to extend their certificate to operate in temporary sites like schools or churches or parking lots.
Okay.
So though we anticipate that the test will generally be performed by a trained individual on a patient,
We're already doing these.
I will demonstrate a self-swab for you to show you just exactly how easy the test is performed. So literally, it almost could not be easier. It starts with 6 drops.
Oh, it could be easier. It could be easier. Saliva test. Spit on the cardboard. Wait. That's easy.
Drops of liquid.
Yeah, this is Kevin Lee Daughter's been doing this on an almost daily basis up until last week for the last 2 months at the studios that she's been working at. They go, they get the nose thing, they wait 15, 20 minutes, they're cleared.
Liquid onto this piece of paper. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then there's a nasal swab. And again, this is not the deep brain biopsy that we talk about. This will generally be done by a healthcare provider, but it can be done supervised. It's this easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Into the test.
Why did they not have Trump demonstrate this? Why? Can you just imagine? And you take a swab, and you put it directly in your nose, and you start 1, 2, 3.
Twisted 3 times. The adhesive is pulled off, and you wait 15 minutes. And that is the test. It really could not be easier than this. This is a very sophisticated little piece of cardboard with lots of antibodies and incredible technology into that. We've already shipped 65,000 of these to disaster operations in California, Oregon, Texas, and Louisiana, and we have already shipped.
So wait, it has to be done by a lab or not?
2.1 million tests to 7,600 nursing homes, over 900,000 tests to assisted living, 300,000 tests to the Indian Health Service, and 339,000 tests to historically black colleges and universities. Today, we
Does this mean I'm pregnant?
start the shipment of 100 million tests to governors, beginning with a total of 6.5 million tests this week to be shipped this week. This is in addition to the continuing support to other priorities like nursing homes. Allocation to states and territories is based strictly on their relative population. Governors have the flexibility to use these tests as they deem fit, but we strongly encourage governors to utilize them in settings that are uniquely in need of rapid, low-tech point-of-care tests, like opening and keeping open our K-12 schools, supporting critical infrastructure and first responders, responding to outbreaks specifically in certain demographics or locations, and screening of surveillance in congregate settings. Mr. President, we just completed a briefing to the governors and their state health officials from the sit room, and we heard words like game changer for their states. Thank you, Mr. President, for your leadership and support of all our efforts to defeat this virus.
Thank you very much, Admiral. And let me ask you, Governor Reeves, do you agree? Would you like to say something?
Green Room is Channel 4 News. Is that a legitimate source? A lot of times, like the Russians have actually, starting back in 2013-14, they were setting up fake news stations like Denver 7, and they would actually report real news over Twitter, but there was no actual Denver 7 station, and they used that in 2016 to propagate a ton of false information about Hillary, etc., because people had started following them for news updates already.
Thank you, Mr. President, for your leadership through this pandemic and through this crisis. It was said by Republicans and Democrats alike earlier, this is a game changer. In our state of Mississippi, our K-12 schools have been open for 9 weeks. Our institutions of higher learning have been open for about the same. But while we have testing available now at least once a week in every county of our state, what this allocation is going to allow for us is we will have testing available for our K-12 teachers every single day going forward. And the thing that we know is that kids learn, and Secretary DeVos knows this so well, kids learn so much better when they're in the classroom.
This is Governor Missouri, isn't it?
Or a hybrid.
I'm not sure what he's doing there, but I think that's him.
Back in the classroom.
Looks really familiar.
Of our kids back in the classroom. It is also critically important, Mr. President, your decision to allocate on the front end to the historically black colleges and universities means the world to Mississippi. Our larger institutions have the financial resources to provide testing, but in Mississippi with Jackson.
Nope, that is not Mike Parsons.
Alcorn State University.
Missouri. Did I say
Mississippi Valley
Missouri?
State
Yeah.
University.
Again, too many damn states.
Will get an allocation of these tests, and it's going to make a difference. And kids all across our state are going to be better served because of it. And I want to personally thank you on behalf of the residents of Mississippi for doing this, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Tate. Great job. In a short period of time, my administration has built the most.
I think Missouri, it was Mike Parsons who's tested positive, I think, in Missouri. Then there's Mississippi. There's Massachusetts, which is partly owned by Australia. There's just too many states.
Advanced testing system in the world. There's never been anything like this. When
we do not have the most advanced testing system in the world.
The pandemic struck, there were 0 tests.
The UK has now out-tested us per capita. The UK!
For the China virus, but we've marshaled all of America's resources to achieve these unparalleled capabilities. We slashed red tape.
These what?
There's never been anything like this. When the pandemic struck, there were 0 tests for the China virus.
Well, yeah.
But we've marshaled all of America's resources to achieve these unparalleled capabilities.
Unparalleled.
We slashed red tape and approved
unparalleled
emergency use
I can't even say
authorizations.
It. Try saying it at home. Unparalleled. Unparalleled. Unparalleled.
For 243 type of tests. That's how many tests we have.
Types of
I invoked
tests.
the Defense Production Act and related authorities more than 100 times and distributed $171 million
you
to
wrote
expand
it? Or you invoked
emergency
it?
use authorizations for 243 type of tests. That's how many tests we have.
Types of tests.
I invoked the Defense Production Act
okay,
and
you did say
related
invoked.
authorities more than 100 times and distributed $171 million to expand testing production. We've done nearly twice as much testing per capita as France, Italy, and Germany, and over 6 times more testing per capita than South Korea.
What about the UK?
We've done far more than any other country.
What about the UK?
Usually times 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6.
What about the UK?
We performed nearly 40 million more tests than India, and by the end of next month, we will have over 100 million tests available in the market. More than
China's done more tests.
and half will be point-of-care tests. Those are the quick ones, and they're really the ones that have the best impact. with the results in less
The
than
best
15
impact.
minutes. We've also prioritized resources for the most vulnerable, including nursing home residents. We delivered rapid testing devices to nearly 14,000 certified nursing homes.
Why do people keep asking for more tests? This poor guy. He must find this so taxes.
We opened over 1,000 community testing sites in low-income communities. Nobody could have done this. We invested an unprecedented $8 billion to help tribal communities have the tests
right, Rich.
and resources they
They're
need
called super
to
duper
combat
tests.
the virus. And it's important to remember that as younger and healthier people return to work, and as we massively increase testing capacity, we will identify more cases and asymptomatic individuals in low-risk populations. This should not cause undue alarm. The total number of cases is not the full metric of success. Hospitalization capacity and mortality rates are far more instructive metrics. As we do more tests, you're going to have automatically more cases. We are relentlessly focused
Also, deaths. Deaths are a good indicator.
on protecting the vulnerable while enabling healthy Americans to go back to work. We can do both, as Florida, Arizona, and other states have recently shown. Over the last 8 weeks, hospitalizations have declined by 48%,
They're on their way up again.
and they've just reached the lowest point since March. It's a
Not
long
true.
time ago. Due to advances in treatment, the fatality rate has fallen 85% since April. Our excess
No, well, okay.
mortality has been considerably lower than comparable countries. Excess mortality compares total deaths during a pandemic to what we would be expected in a normal year. This is a critical measurement
What?
because
In English, please.
excess mortality has been considerably lower than comparable countries. Excess mortality
What comparable countries exactly?
compares total deaths during a pandemic to what we would be expected in a normal year. This is a critical
would be
measurement
expected?
because it includes undetected China virus deaths along with deaths resulting from lockdowns. And lockdowns can be very harmful. And we have too many states that are locked down right now. The governors are.
The excess deaths are now due to lockdowns. Okay.
Nobody knows what the governors are doing.
Well, since we never really locked down, I guess our deaths are actually due to the coronavirus, and the tests and the excess deaths in Europe are due to the lockdowns because they actually did lock down, and that's how they went like this, and we just went like, "Hey, it's a water slide! Woo, we're up again!"
Actually, Europe has experienced a 50% greater excess mortality rate during the virus than the U.S., and their
And they have double the population.
economic contraction has been far more severe.
That's not true.
Under Operation Warp Speed, my administration is on track to deliver a safe and effective vaccine in record time. We're doing very well with the vaccines, as most of you know. 4 vaccines are now in the final stage of trials. The day the vaccine is approved by the FDA, we'll begin distributing it within 24 hours with hundreds of millions of doses to follow very quickly. We're all set to go. We're all ready, and logistically, we have the military lined up, and some incredible people are just waiting to have it. Over 100 million doses will be available before the end of the year. We will defeat the virus,
Boo,
and we will
something,
end the
economics.
pandemic. And next year
VOO.
will be one of the greatest years in our
Voodoo,
history,
economics.
and we think it's going to be a very exciting period of time. With that, I'd like to ask Mike to say a few words, because you just left a task force meeting. Vice President Mike Pence.
Doesn't even get to go, Norm. Oh, he's like, I'm so late. I'm going to try.
Thank you, Mr.
I'm gonna
President.
adjust. He's even
This is a
using Trump's
historic
fake
day.
voice.
And other than the day that I believe will come soon, that America produces the first safe and effective vaccine, what's announced today with the distribution of 150 million rapid point-of-care tests all across America is a testament to your leadership, Mr. President. It's a testament to this great team that you've assembled, from Secretary Azar, Admiral Giroir, and others. It's a testament to the partnership that we forged with governors like Governor Reeves all across America. And it's a testament to great companies like Abbott Laboratories and the thousands of employees who, Mr. President, I know have literally worked around the clock since those early days in this pandemic, when you brought in the greatest research companies in America and said that we need medicines known as therapeutics, we need a vaccine for America, but you also challenged them to develop a rapid point of care test that could be distributed all across America and enable us to more effectively slow the spread, flatten the curve, protect the vulnerable, and save lives.
That one.
And Mr. President, today's announcement is really emblematic of the public-private partnership that you forged from the early days of this pandemic. As you said, we met today with the nation's governors. The White House Coronavirus Task Force completed our 38th conference call with America's governors.
Thank you for your leadership, sir. And may I just say, I've never been more excited and proud to want to fill that seat, sir.
To put the health of America first. But you also challenged us, and you challenged American industry to bring the full power and innovation of the American economy to bear on this moment. And whether it be PPE, where we forged a partnership to see to the delivery and the manufacture of hundreds of millions of personal protective equipment, whether it be how we started with 15,000 ventilators in the Strategic National Stockpile, and today in partnership with GE Healthcare, Ford, and General Motors, we have over 150,000 ventilators in the Strategic National Stockpile. Whether it be the extraordinary progress on therapeutics, remdesivir, convalescent plasma that are literally saving lives, or whether it be, as you reflected, Mr. President, on our steady progress toward achieving.
He read it from a piece of paper in monotone. But yeah, reflected.
A safe and effective vaccine before the end of this year. It's been that public-private partnership that you've led that's made these advances possible. And on testing, the American people really deserve to know that when we began, as you said, Mr. President, it was literally a standing start. We didn't have information on the coding of the coronavirus.
That's not what literally means. That's not that no one was actually standing.
Coronavirus until mid-February. But America's CDC labs and public health labs did their level best. And by the end of February, we'd done less than 10,000 coronavirus tests. But as you just announced a few moments ago, last week we cleared 100 million.
We'd done 4,000. South Korea had done close to 200,000. By the 12th, they'd done 220,000. We had done 5,000. They have 370-some deaths. We have, let's see, that number's outdated. 210,000? I don't even know. Haven't looked at it a couple of days. More than them.
Tests all across the country. It's extraordinary. We have the capacity to do 3 million tests a day. It's a testament to
and we don't.
American innovation and the leadership that you've provided. Also, Mr. President, we've delivered to nearly 14.
Just so you know, Kevin Lee's daughter went to schedule a test today. She can't get one until Wednesday. We're in Los Angeles, where for a while there you could just drive up, go to Dodger Stadium, and wait in line. I tried to do that one time. There was a 2.5-hour wait, and I couldn't because I was moving. But that's where we are right now. The soonest test available here is 2 days away, which gives her plenty of time to spread her disease.
1,000 nursing homes in America, point-of-care tests already, that are making it possible for us to really keep focus on the most vulnerable. As you know, only 8% of those who have contracted the coronavirus are in nursing homes, but 40% of those that have lost their life have been in nursing homes. And so we've surged those resources and surged them to vulnerable populations. But with the announcement today of this Abbott Laboratories Buy Next Now test, we began a process first announcing 50 million tests to go to our vulnerable communities, to go to minority communities, to Indian Health Services. But as we told all the nation's governors today, we begin the process this week of distributing 100 million tests to each state and territory in the country free of charge, so they can begin to deploy those tests on the priorities that the state has set. But, Mr. President, given the extraordinary capacity that we have in testing today, we expressed a hope to all the governors today that they would particularly use these Abbott Binax tests to open up America's schools and to keep them open. And we heard about the enthusiasm of governors from both sides of the aisle about what this test will mean in helping to process helping to process the testing that will get our kids into school and keep our kids in school. And Mr. President, let me just close by saying we've passed through a challenging time in the life of this nation in 2020, and our hearts, and I know your heart, is with all the families that have suffered loss. But as you said, the cases are declining. Hospitalizations have been declining dramatically, particularly in the Sun Belt. In Louisiana, where not long ago 50 parishes had more than 10% positivity rate, now only 3 parishes are testing positive over 10%. Arizona was testing 20% positivity rate. Now it's less than 4% consistently. But with cases and positivity rising in 10 states, in the Midwest and the Near West, and with this historic advance in testing that's being distributed, 150 strong around the country, Mr. President, the American...
Hold on, I'm just gonna you just read off the states with rising positivity that I can see right here. Let's see, Idaho, yes. Montana, yes. North Dakota, yes. South Dakota, yes. Wyoming, yes. Minnesota, yes. Wisconsin, yes. Iowa, yes. Nevada, yes. Utah, yes. All of these above 10%. Kansas, 15.4%. Oklahoma, no, falling from 9.1 to 7.8, still above 5%. Texas, yes, 11%. Arkansas, yes, 9.7%. Missouri, yes, 12.3%. Iowa, yes, 16.4%. Wisconsin, yes, 18.4% in Wisconsin. Illinois, yes.
People should anticipate that cases will rise in the days ahead. But as we more readily identify those who've contracted the coronavirus, the American people can be confident because of this extraordinary and historic public and private partnership that you've forged, because of this whole of government approach. We're ready. As we proved through the outbreak in the Sun Belt this summer, we'll make sure that any community, any state that's impacted with rising cases, any school that's impacted will have the PPE, will have the supplies, will have the medicines. And as you said, Mr. President, we will continue at your direction our relentless drive toward achieving the first safe and effective vaccine so we can achieve the day that we once and for all put this coronavirus in the past. So
California's dropped from 3.6% to 3% in the last 2 weeks. His own state of Indiana has gone from 6.1% to 10.4% in terms of positivity.
Mr. President, with thanks to our industry partners, thanks to this team, but thanks to you for your strong leadership. I hope for that day, and the American people can be confident. We will not rest, we will not relent until we put this coronavirus in the past.
Thank you very much, Mike. Scott Atlas, would you say a few words, please, as to how we're doing and where you see us going, please?
Anybody that wants a test can get a test. That's what.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. And I also want to echo the congratulations to the team, the task force, Admiral Giroir in particular, who's worked very hard on the testing. This is a remarkable day because we have state-of-the-art testing. This is not the typical point-of-care test even. This is new. This does not require any kind of machine. It's very rapid. And this is not one of those deep swab things that people are reluctant to use. So I think we're really making an advance here to do what testing is supposed to do.
So this doesn't require a lab.
As the Vice President mentioned, we know that there are areas of the country that have more cases. This is to be expected with more social mingling. And the testing, but particularly protecting the vulnerable, is the key here. We have not seen hospital overcrowding. We're doubling down now with testing to protect vulnerable people, not just inside nursing homes, but in residential settings and senior daycare centers. This is a remarkable advance. And I anticipate that as this virus, as we get toward the end of this pandemic and the vaccine is being developed as quickly as it has been, America will be in a different position. And there really should be, as I've said many times, the fear is not the issue here. We really have a handle on what's going on. We know what to anticipate, and there's remarkable advances being made as we see today. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much.
for this test. Positive results do not rule out bacterial infection or co-infection with other viruses. I know what the false positive rate is on this, but you could just have a regular old infection or bacteria.
Tremendous progress is being made, and I say it, and I'll say it all the time, we're rounding the corner. And very importantly, vaccines are coming, but we're rounding the corner regardless. But vaccines are coming, and they're coming fast. We have 4 great companies already, and it's going to be added to very rapidly. They're in final stages of testing. And from what we're hearing, the results are going to be very extraordinary. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. And thank you very much. Great job by Abbott. Right from the beginning, great job by Abbott. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
All right, well, we thought the President of the United States might take some questions here. He is being shouted at with some of those tax-related questions that have come up in that New York Times expose going back a couple of decades. Suffice it to say that the president really wanted to talk about progress on the virus front. At least 2 states in this country, Florida and Indiana, are almost back to pre-pandemic levels. So there is that, and the president wanted to make sure people knew that and not necessarily go on and on about his taxes. What?
Pre-pandemic?
Really wanted to talk about progress on the virus front. At least 2 states in this country, Florida and Indiana, are almost back to pre-pandemic levels. So there is that.
Fuck! No, they're not. Florida. 2,400 new cases yesterday. They are at 10.6% positivity. That's not pre-pandemic. Pre-pandemic, there were no cases and no positivity. What was the other one he said? Florida, was it Indiana?
That have come up in that New York Times expose going back a couple of decades. Suffice it to say that the president really wanted to talk about progress on the virus front. At least 2 states in this country, Florida and Indiana.
Indiana, we just looked at. Indiana is skyrocketing. They went from 6.1% to 10.4%. New cases per million, 126. And they're currently listed as uncontrolled spread. 849 new cases yesterday. That's 126 per million. Florida's actually lower at 112 per million. Canada is still sitting at about 4. Indiana, 126. So, yeah, that's just bull. Boy, I'm surprised because usually Cavuto doesn't shade things quite that much, but maybe he just is doing something else where this was going on. So this is from Green Room. Let's listen to this.
Has long been accused of ignoring the voices of millions of black Americans. Donald Trump.
This is Channel 4 News in England. And to give you a little background, we've talked about this before on the live stream. Welcome to the live stream if you're just tuning in, by the way. I am your Heavenly Father, Kevin Williams. We chat and scream truth to power. In this case, that was the president announcing a test, which is good. Nothing wrong with tests. Most of the figures you heard were bogus and misinformation. But it's good that there's more testing. We need more testing. We should be at 10 million tests per day. We're at less than 1 million tests per day, and that's just the way it is. My daughter, Kevinly daughter, was just shooting a television series. They were tested every day. Everybody on set, including the camera people, the gaffers, the key grips, everybody. The cast, they were all tested. They wore masks all the time, except when they were shooting. They would say action, pull your mask down. Sorry, they would say rolling. They'd say speed. They would say, anyway, if you've ever been on a set, masks off, and then at the end they'd say cut, masks on, and they would put their masks on. And that way they kept the spread of the virus away from inside the studio, as far as we know. This is from Channel 4. The reason mathematically that Hillary lost is because the African-American male vote was down 12 to 18% in swing states. That partially makes sense because their guy Obama was up for election 4 years before that, but it was even down from 4 years before that for John Kerry. And one of the reasons that happened is because The Russians were specifically attacking Hillary on black-related issues over Instagram and Facebook and other social media platforms, but primarily Instagram, because they knew which voters were African American, and they got that information most likely from Paul Manafort. Although we don't know what information was in that the polling data that Paul Manafort was giving to Kimmel, the Russian intelligence officer. But we do know that that information was handed off, and it makes perfect sense that that would be the polling data, race, age, etc. That's the Russians. They would want that, and that's how you win Michigan by 10,000 votes, Wisconsin by 10,000 votes, Pennsylvania by 10,000. Now there's more than 10,000 votes, but it's a 70,000 vote election is what it came down to. You suppress the African American vote, take that advantage away from the Democrats, and you win. This is from Channel 4.
Has long been accused of ignoring the voices of millions of black Americans. Now we can reveal how he has actively tried to silence them. We've obtained the database used by Donald Trump's 2016 presidential campaign, a vast collection of files on almost 200 million US citizens. It shows what they knew and what they did, the secret tactics that helped turn Donald Trump into the president.
Oh, okay. So when is this coming? This must be happening now. Channel4.com/news. Hold on.
Ignoring the voice.
So this was a promo for that, and if they've received that, Channel 4 News. Let's go to the actual channel itself. 30 people killed in Armenia, Azerbaijan. That's not good. Boris Johnson, Boris Yeltsin, students in the UK forced to self-isolate as COVID spreads campuses. Let's see, recent tax deals. What was that? Channel4.com/news. What was that address again, guys? Channel4news.com/news. Was that it, or was it Channel 4? Reading and shopping. So no, that was not it. Channel4.com/news. That's the one. Revealed. Okay, and
there is a reckoning taking place in the United States over racism, and for many it is the central issue in the election campaign. For months, people have taken
#deterring democracy
into the streets across the country to protest against police brutality and structural racism in America.
These are anarchists, these are agitators, they're rioters, they're looters, they're bad people.
Donald Trump has long been accused of ignoring the voices of millions of black Americans. Now we can reveal how he has actively tried to silence them. We've obtained the database used by Donald Trump's 2016 presidential campaign, a vast collection of files on almost 200 million US citizens. It shows what they knew and what they did. The secret tactic.
My sound was off. I thought their sound was off. Yeah, nobody wants to hear me. So I'm not going to broadcast this whole thing because I will get dinged with a copyright strike most likely. So you guys can watch this. Go to channel4.com. I've got a lot more charity stuff I've got to get done. So I'm going to do that. I will see you guys later. We're doing the debate tomorrow night, God willing, and Spectrum willing. So we will do that. In the meantime, I've got muchly charity stuff I've got to get done. Don't forget, booksandbricks.org, a big charity drive on October 3rd, 1 month before the election. Maybe see you guys later today if I get everything done. Maybe see you tomorrow. I don't think there's going to be anything else on the schedule. So 6 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow for the debate. But yeah, take a look at this. Green Room says watch this, and we will see you guys probably tomorrow. Again, just a recap of what happened today at the White House.
Where are you going?
Kevin, thanks for that.